Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Day webinar titled Elevate Your Impact, Mastering NRS Updates and Maximizing Measurable Skill Gains. My name is Ariel Petrokis, and I'm the Director of Adult Education in Collier County. A little housekeeping before we start. If you have a question, please type it into the Q&A option. Attendee microphones will be muted. You will be in listen-only mode. Today's presentation is being recorded. It will be archived and available on the Day website within 48 hours. Please also note that an accompanying handbook for this presentation will also be provided in your Day portal. So here's our agenda for today's webinar, and this webinar could not have been scheduled at a better time as we've all just recently received our NRS data. And for today's purpose, we will be speaking about NRS on a general level and then get into enhancing MSGs and some best practices for data collection and reporting. I think it's important to understand the NRS updating process to know why these changes occur. The National Reporting System, NRS, update process involves the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, OCTAE. They begin by reviewing and updating its information collection requests for NRS roughly every 3 years. This review includes changes to reporting tables and data elements. State and providers are then tasked with implementing these updates to their data collection and reporting practices. This process then includes the Florida Department of Ed updating the technical assistance papers and dissemination of the changes, updates, and developing training materials and support the transition of the new reporting requirements. So why is OCTAE making these changes and updates every 3 years? Well, to ensure that the data collected aligns with educational policies, labor market needs, and then also federal regulations. So when OCTAE identifies needed changes, this is often done with input from state agencies, providers, and stakeholders to ensure that the revisions meet everyone's needs. So as OCTAE drafts NRS changes, they post these drafts to the NRS website. You can actually find the latest proposed changes and comment submission details on the policy and data section of the site. Once feedback is received, the changes are finalized, then approved and officially published. But careful, just because OCTAE has approved changes and published them, the state must then adopt those changes. It is not until the state has given us the green light to implement that we are able to do so. OCTAE then communicates the changes to the state offices responsible for adult education programs, along with guidance on how states should implement the needed changes. It sounds so easy. However, the reality is states then have to develop an action plan to ensure compliance. Finally, states update their data collection tools, procedures, training materials that is rolled out to all of us as the training providers and offer technical assistance to ensure accurate data collection and reporting. Again, why do we need to know how NRS updates occur? Mainly to understand that these reporting changes and that the data elements we collect is not being pushed by the state, but rather from a larger power at the federal level. However, understanding the what and the why we collect and report is important to us because that's the way we can be more strategic in how we approach these changes. So now that we understand a little bit about the how and why behind the NRS changes, let's look at a little bit of the NRS table, at some of the new NRS changes. Just an FYI, I mentioned it before, for those of you out there wanting to dive deeper into the 2024 NRS table changes, feel free to take a look at the NRS Tips Quick Overview on the nrsweb.org site. So that's the link to their information and the why behind it. So, alternative placement, NRS table rows. One of the most significant changes that went into effect during last year, the 23-24 school year, was the alternative placement rows found on many of the tables in your NRS reports. The main takeaway here is that the alternative placement takes into account the students enrolled into GED or adult high school and removes them from your denominator, meaning these students don't count against you on your post-test rate. Why? Because the student population's main objective is to earn their high school diploma and often earn their diploma prior to being post-tested. So this is kind of I would say this is a win for all of us. Currently, the Florida Department of Ed is thinking that IETs may also fall under this category, but again, that has not been officially approved yet. Updated calculation for MSG 1C. Now we can earn a learning gain from MSG 1C for participants who start in an adult ed program, ESOL, ABE, ASC, GED, alphabet soup there, and later enroll into a post-secondary education or training program during the program year. So just by assisting our students, our adult ed students, to go from adult ed to a CTE or an approved IET during that program year, we're making a gain, which is awesome. Careful, 1C requires that they enroll as an adult education student prior to the technical training program. What does this mean for all of us? It means that IETs, integrated education and training programs, are the catalyst for making a gain. We've all asked for it. Now you have it. MSG 1D is earned by passing a subtest on the high school equivalency exam. Yep, you heard it. Any section passed on the GED is a gain. As program providers, we need to be careful on this one, though, that while the student may have passed a subsection and earn an MSG, the student has really nothing to show for it unless they pass all 4 sections and earns their diploma. So we need to see them through it. However, the win for us is that any subsection is still considered an MSG. Now, what does this mean for all of us? We need to make sure that we are working with our reports coordinator, our data entries, to ensure we have systems in place that each of the subtests are being captured and reported to the state. If you don't have that process in place right now, we need to. Otherwise, you're missing out on claiming learning gains and leaving points on the table. Again, this is just a reminder that the changes we've just shared have all been approved by the Florida DOE. However, just because Octave publishes a change, providers cannot assume these changes are in effect without direction from the state. How do we hear about those updates? From communication from the Chancellor's Office, bi-monthly FDOE adult ed webinars, technical assistance papers, WEDAC meetings, and our state conferences. What's the takeaway here? If you are a program administrator, you should be engaging in one or all of the 5 channels and then creating a mechanism to disseminate this information to the required staff. If you're an instructor or data entry, you need to be asking your program administrator for the latest NRS changes and be involved in understanding how that will be captured within your program. So here are the Florida DOE updates, NRS table changes. And this gets a little bit in the weeds, but I'm just going to go through it quickly. The first row, the main update has been participant sex can now be male, female, and no answer. But this is mainly for state college, the state college system. Second row, we have a partial implementation of the alternative placement on tables 1, 4, 4A, and 4C. Partial, what does that mean? Kind of like I shared before, it's just focusing right now on GED participants in adult high school. The third row shares about how they have consolidated the primary indicators on table 5 and 5A, so there's only 5 categories now. And then the fourth row talks about a column heading and new rows that were revised on table 14. Table 14 doesn't apply to the providers. I've never even known that 14 existed. This is a state element, but those are the main updates. So now that we know the rules of the game, let's get into how to win the game. Initial assessment and goal setting. So all providers have it in place already, that an intake assessment is required for a student to be eligible for participation in data submission to the state. So we've got that. However, we often fall short with sharing and explaining those assessments to the students, establishing learning goals and identifying barriers for regular participation or advancement. Often in an effort to provide great customer service and start students immediately, because every moment counts, we fail our students by not taking the time to work with them to establish realistic goals, objectives, and ensuring the commitment needed to be successful. An area of continued refinement for us here in Collier is establishing learning plans with our students that aligns with their personal and career goals. This means having the difficult conversations of it may take a little longer, or it may, or maybe this isn't the right time to start. The other area of work for us is to establish a more refined process for identifying students eligible to transition into IET programs, GED, or post-secondary programs sooner rather than later. In other words, how can we identify a student who's ready now? They didn't actually articulate it, but we know they're ready to move to a better opportunity. And who are those students, and what do we need to focus on to help them move into that future opportunity? One of the tools we've been using, simple online forms such as Google or Microsoft Forms, we can quickly assess hundreds of our students at one time as to why they are here and what they are hoping to accomplish and where they need assistance in. Regular check-ins and program monitoring. Help your teachers by coaching them to meet with students to review their progress and personal goals. Now, this sounds easier than it really is, and especially with full-time teachers. But when working with part-time instructors, that's a whole different can of worms. And again, that's a large part of our staff population. But it doesn't have to be complicated. We've started with this, and it can still be done with just the part-time teachers. Start by sharing the students' post-testing results with our instructors. That's the first piece. Often sitting down with them to review with one of our part-time instructors or a group of them at a time, and having with the instructors and giving them an overview of what those results mean. Then providing them with a copy of each of the students' results so that they can pass them out to their class, and the students will do the rest of the work. They will ask the teachers, what does this mean and what do I need to do next? The next bullet, I get, it's a heavy lift to create a dashboard or learner profile, but it's not impossible, and the time invested to build it pays off dividends in the future. If you use Focus and you want to take it to the next level, reach out to us here in Collier, reach out to Broward, Miami-Dade. I know there are others out there that have amazing dashboards that have been created, but those are the districts that have assisted us. And for those of you who are in the college system, I know you use a different dashboard, but reach out to your counterparts because I know there are great things happening and great ideas and tools already created. In the meantime, if you need a tool now, the tool I rely on when I don't have anything else is an Excel spreadsheet, and it does wonders and it gets me out of the weeds, but you need to start somewhere. Finally, get away from the surprise post tests. That has been one thing we've gotten away early on. The students don't like it and it's ineffective. I think from day one, let your students know when they will be post-testing, and that regular participation is needed to be ready to test. As you approach that post-testing window, remind the students that it's coming up and that those students that are not ready will be testing later. But we've seen tremendous success when they know the why behind it and the reason we're doing this, and it's not just to change their teachers. The wraparound service coordination, that's a big one. This is one we are always growing and trying to find additional resources and reaching out with the community. And we know the why. Why is that adults, things are complicated in the adult life, family, work. However, many of our students come to us with additional barriers. As adult education providers, we need to have high expectations for our programs and for our students. However, instead of creating an excuse for our learners, this is one that it's personal for me as to why they can't participate. We need to really be proactive in identifying solutions prior to them starting to reduce those barriers. Know the agencies within your area that can assist and provide the support to existing barriers. This coordination of wraparound services on the front end are what ensure students being successful or reduce the number that fall through the cracks later. This is also when we have to be real with students that have the hard conversation that maybe this is not the right time, or maybe it might not be the right program at this time, but that we're always here and available to assist and to start them when their life is more aligned. Career counseling and pathway guidance. So as students enter your adult ed program, what systems and staff do you have in place to help them understand and explore the opportunities available to them? As I mentioned earlier, this is an area we're working on and refining by embedding the use of career inventory assessments in post-secondary exploration tools such as Zello, Florida Shines, and Get There to better help our students learn about the opportunities available to them. We're fortunate we're embedded within within a technical college, but for those of you who are not, even for our state college, we work closely with them and we collaborate with training programs in the colleges to visit and explore their options, talk about the registration process, walk the campus, and kind of get a feel of what programs and what options might be the best fit for me where I am at this point in time. And when I say me, I'm referring to our students. Reach out to those employers and industries that are always hiring to share about their opportunities, incentives, and career laddering. Finally, I think a big one, and again, we work with a large ESOL population, new arrivals that don't understand our system and even our terminology that we use. So we want to work with our students to help them understand and guide them towards industry recognized certifications by helping them understand what a pathway is and how it's designed to help them advance. Communication and alerts, as we mentioned, or as I mentioned before, use of text messaging systems. We're working on that one. We haven't established text messaging yet, but that's a new tool and focus for us. But we have been using for a while now email notifications. Our students are plugged in, they're connected, and they check their emails. And we remind them about testing, upcoming job fairs, and deadlines to register for classes. Whether it's classes for adult education, whether it's classes for the technical college, or classes for our local state college system. So the more they know of what they need to be doing, the more plugged in, the more timely we can make those transition. One of the things we are working on establishing is a monthly student newsletter to help communicate relevant information to our students. Not a heavy lift, it's just another thing, but I think a thing that's valued. We still struggle, but are continuing brainstorming on how we can better establish an open communication channel for our students to access support or guidance. The difficulty here, probably many of you already know, is staffing, but is the needed staffing in the morning, afternoons, and evenings as our programs run morning, afternoons, and evenings, along with the volume of calls that we're receiving. So I see someone uses Remind Text system. That's awesome. Communication and alerts. Pre and post testing is an area of continuous refinement, improvement, and training in our county, as nothing is more disappointing after we have registered the students. We've engaged the students with 70+ hours. The teachers have worked diligently with the students to just miss the opportunity to have them demonstrate the successes because we've administered the wrong assessment, or the assessment was out of range, or the pre-test didn't match the post-test. And just when we have it all figured out, even our staff changes. We lose those amazing proctors or those staff members that are helping us. So the best way to avoid these scenarios are to to be able to ramp up quickly after staff changes is to have your testing policies and procedures well documented. Plus, hint here for anybody who's getting audited, auditors love to look for these or to ask for these. Do you have your procedures, your testing policies and procedures documented? Please share them with us. So that heads up on that one. We've been caught before. If you're running morning, afternoon, and evening programs, your testing window and schedules should mirror those times. Our most successful in recent testing have become Saturday mornings. Believe it or not, we have Saturday morning testing. The great thing about Saturdays is that, at least in our area, most campuses are empty, meaning we have the entire building and can bring in 150+ students to test at one time. It does require staffing, but it is doable, and it's been a hit, especially when our work season gets even busier. They're more willing to come in. And again, it's not a daily thing. This is just for a post-test or a pre-test. Make sure your proctors and data entry are all working in tandem. This is a big one for us. We have a small but mighty team, and our data entries and proctors are in sync and aligned. As program administrators, it's our responsibility to ensure that they understand the changes as they occur. What changes am I talking about? We have new tests that have been recently released, and some of us are going to be implementing in the near future. And with those tests come lots of small changes that we weren't aware of, and everyone needs to know. So ensure they have a system to communicate questions and challenges as they come up, especially when implementing something new. And I share this from the School of Hard Knocks because we're in it now. A little bit more with pre-testing, post-testing. This is an area of continued growth. I keep saying that, and refinement for us, especially in the part-time instructional world. However, we have to start somewhere. So start by, like I said before, sharing the student results with the teachers. Most of us forget, most of us are using a student management system and forget that teachers and students now have a lot of that data in the student management system. If you're using a student portal, most of us have the student history in that portal as well. So your students can actually see their attendance, see their participation, see their test history. And so the more we can guide them to those tools, the more readily available it is. If you are not quite there in terms of the student portals and the student management system, then my old favorite rely on is print the results out so that they can at least review it and share it with their students. The more our teachers know, the better they are able to support them. Celebrating gains and achievements. Yes, I know many of us already do this. We all do this. We celebrate the success of the students with awards, certificates, classrooms, stage parties. Adult ed knows how to celebrate that. However, another area of to celebrate success that I can't highlight enough is celebrating the successes of the teachers, providing them with reports of the number of students they served and the number of gains they earned. And the more timely we can do that after that post-test, the more involved they become, the more they see the connection of what they do in the classroom with where their students are going. Administrators out there, how many of you are having data dialogues or data chats with your superintendents or college presidents? If not, request that 20-minute meeting once a year, if at least, to share the latest and greatest along with the challenges. They are interested, they just don't know and often don't understand our world and the uniqueness of it. Again, monitor, and look for those opportunities for refinement in testing procedures, and make sure that your testing procedures are documented. Like I said, auditors will look for it. Critical here, the work is not done when testing is over. This is the opportunity now to ensure accuracy of the testing. So was the test valid? Was it in range? Was it a accurate post-test? And verify that those tests then are actually being entered and reported. I don't know, many of us use if we're doing paper testing, how many of those tests are still sitting, those results still sitting in a drawer at the bottom of someone's desk? Because that means it didn't get entered. If you've gotten it into a system, human error is your biggest culprit. I know that 141 and that 142 key are right close to each other. We know that just those little errors throw off our accuracy. And I'll just stop there. Involve your teachers in ensuring that what was collected is accurate. Like I said, the more they know, the more they can have another set of eyes reviewing the data, the more they can catch us of, wait a minute, Tommy did test, but I don't see him on my list. Did we just forget to run that report, pull that report? Was it out of range? What happened? Did we forget anybody? Data reporting and best practices. So we've touched upon many of these items already. So the biggest takeaway that I can offer is to request the use of the data quality reports provided by the state after submission to review your data and compare it with your local reports. You can request this from your reports coordinator. This current fall data that we're working on right now will be uploaded in the January, February timeframe. So you should be able to request this from your reports coordinator in February easily. In large districts, so when we talk about staff training and reporting guidelines and updating systems, in large districts and programs, you need to have a formalized system to train staff and disseminate information and updates, especially when your programs operate morning, afternoon, and evening in multiple locations, multiple sites. How do we ensure that everybody's getting the same information? And that's got to be in it through a formal system. In smaller districts and programs, you want to ensure that you have a strong team, that everyone is working in unison, and the communication is continuously ongoing. For those of you in districts similar like ours, in medium-sized districts, I call it medium, you're probably adopting a combination of these two systems, but at the same time, working towards formalizing those structures. And when I say formalizing them, like I mentioned before, if you have a manual data entry going on, something that has saved us tremendous work, reduced errors, and increased our accuracy has been the imports and exports of testing scores into Focus or into our student management system, and reports being exported for us to review. We've eliminated that human error from it, allowing us to focus more on the opportunities missed. Create reports to review. Yes, we all collect tremendous amounts of data. However, the data is buried in a system. If you are not able to review your data on a regular basis, you are flying blind. Even if you need to export to a basic Excel report from CASA's TOPS Pro or TABES DRC, that is where you need to start. For those of you using Focus or Skyward as your student information system, they have basic reports already built. Figure out how to run them so that you can get a better guide, so you can better guide your program. But we need to start somewhere on that one. Finally, conduct internal audits. And I've been going a little fast, so I'm coming up to my end of my presentation, but finally conduct some internal audits. This is where you pull a small team to review, or pardon me, this is where we, at least in our district, we pull a small team of 5 to 10 people sitting around a big table to review and mind our data and practices. Where do we start? We started with the area that bothered us the most. That's going to vary from county to county, program to program, but focus on that area that bothers you the most. If your program is running great, and kudos to you that have amazing running programs, use last year's data quality reports to compare with your recent NRS data. What connections can you draw? And more importantly, what questions come up? Those questions are your opportunities. And I'm just checking here for the Q&As, but I don't see any Q&As. So in closing, I'm just going to share a couple of closing pieces, main takeaways. I know I shared a lot of information really quickly, and if I had to make some main takeaways for immediate implementation, I would recommend 4 main areas to focus on. Make sure you have and are reviewing the data quality reports and NRS reports provided by the state. If you don't know what they are, if you've never seen it, if you don't know who to ask, that's your reports coordinator. If you still don't know, that would be the state. Reach out to the state. My second main takeaway would be, it doesn't matter how great of a program you think you have and how amazing your teachers are. And I say that just because we have amazing programs. All of us have amazing programs and amazing teachers putting in some serious hours. But if we are not ensuring that our students are post-testing, then we've missed the opportunity to share the growth that they're making. So that's that to me is the biggest opportunity missed. Area of action number 3: create a team to engage in reviewing your data, post-testing, and processes. Identify the low-hanging fruit, which generates the biggest impact. And the last area for immediate implementation that I would say I still utilize on a regular basis is reach out. Reach out to other districts, ask questions, reach out to Brittany Ross and Ashley Cooper at the state level. They are amazing. They're constantly coaching me and guiding me. And if you're not sure what to ask or who to ask, just reach out to Collier, ask for me, Ariel. I think I'm the only Ariel in Collier County within the school district. So on that note, please take a moment to give us your feedback, as it really does matter. Thank you for your time today, and make sure to sign up for the next webinar on Wednesday, December 4th, on assessing key components of reading for adult literacy instruction. It should be an awesome one. Thank you for your time again. Have a great day.